In this video, we're going to talk about how to monitor and predict your costs on AWS, and more importantly, how to stay in control so you don't get surprised at the end of the month. Even if you design a great cloud architecture, a surprise bill at the end of the month can ruin the whole experience. So instead of treating cost as an afterthought, it helps to think of cost management as a simple cycle with 4 stages. First, you estimate your future costs before you deploy. Second, you set safety nets so you don't overspend. Third, you track what you're spending right now. And fourth, you analyze your past data to understand patterns and optimize. To keep things practical, we'll look at one AWS tool for each step: AWS Pricing Calculator, AWS Budgets, AWS Cost Explorer, and AWS Cost and Usage Reports. Alright, with that in mind, let's start with the first stage, estimating. AWS Pricing Calculator is a free web tool where you can model what you plan to run on AWS and see what it might cost each month. Here's the basic flow. You pick the service you're planning to use, like EC2, S3, or RDS. Then you enter your expected configuration and usage. For example, you might say you're running 2 EC2 instances of a certain type. You need a specific amount of EBS storage, and you expect a certain amount of data transfer. From there, it gives you an estimate monthly cost broken down by service. This is most useful before you deploy anything, and it's also great for comparing options, like comparing one large EC2 instance versus multiple smaller ones. Once you have that estimate, the next step is making sure you don't accidentally blow past it. So let's talk about the safety nets. In our previous video, we already explained AWS Budget in detail. You can also give that a look if you haven't yet, so it gives you more understanding of the bigger picture. The goal here is simple. You don't wait until the bill arrives to notice a problem. AWS Budgets lets you set a budget like, I don't want to spend more than $50 this month, for example. And then it can alert you when your actual or forecasted spending crosses that threshold you choose. You can create budgets for total cost or usage, for specific services, or even for specific linked accounts or tags. And when it comes to alerts, you can get notification through email or Amazon SNS. In some cases, you can even trigger automated actions like scaling down resources when a budget is breached. The big takeaway is that Budgets gives you guardrails and early warning once your workloads are running. But after you've set those guardrails, you still need visibility day to day. So next up is how you monitor and forecast your costs. AWS Cost Explorer is a visual dashboard that shows how your AWS costs change over time. And it can also forecast what you're likely to pay by end of the month. You can filter by service, region, accounts, or tags. And you can switch between daily or monthly views for cost and usage. You can also see forecasts for the rest of the month and save custom views, like separate views for production versus dev accounts. And in real life, this is what you use to check how your bill is trending this month, and to compare last month to this month so you can quickly spot what has changed. Now, AWS Cost Explorer is great for visibility and trending, but if you need really detailed historical data and line item level analysis, that's where the final stage comes in, which is AWS Cost and Usage Reports. This service is often called as CUR. CUR provides the most granular cost data that AWS can offer. It generates a detailed report of historical cost and usage and delivers to an S3 bucket with line items per account, per service, per tag, and many, many more. You can get it in formats like CSV or Parquet and then load it into tools like Amazon Athena, Amazon QuickSight, or even external BI tools. This is what enables questions like, how much did this specific team or project cost last quarter? And it's also how you build internal cost breakdowns per department, application, or environment. So now that we walk through all 4 stages, let's bring it all together and wrap up the video by summarizing the 4 tools that you should remember from this video. The first one is AWS Pricing Calculator is what you use before you deploy to estimate and compare expected costs. AWS Budgets comes next once you're running to set limits and alerts so you don't overspend. AWS Cost Explorer is what you use during the month to visualize, monitor, and forecast your current spending. And AWS Cost and Usage Reports, or CUR, are what you use long-term when you need detailed historical data to dig in and optimize. If you keep that simple flow in mind, estimate, protect, monitor, and analyze, you'll have a much clearer way to stay in control of your AWS costs. All right, that's a wrap for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.